What are you doing? Okay, so this is like very awkward because I'm starting it by myself and I don't typically do that. I just wanted to start this off with like, thank you guys for coming. I can see there's a lot of you in the comment section and there's a lot of you in here. So I am just going to go ahead and set some ground rules essentially. We have to keep in mind that this is somebody who has not spoken out publicly about anything yet. We don't know her side. Also something that's very difficult is I'm trying to remove all prior knowledge, all prior bias, because this is kind of where I screwed up in the first place and dropped the ball. I did not listen to every side of the story before I formulated an opinion. And I want to show you guys that it's okay to admit that when you do that, and you can still go back and listen. And I thank Daphne for even giving us the time to come on tonight. The comments will be heavily moderated as well. We have techs in the back room, and we also have a full list of moderators that are in the house tonight. I think that's about all the ground rules. Let's keep it like respectful. Okay, let's try to remove some bias and let's bring our guest in. Hello, Miss Daphne.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I want to thank you. That's one thing I think I have already, but I want to make sure that you know that thank you and thank Tex and actually thank Mac. You three are very.
Oh Lord, now we're a group, and that
You're not a group. You're separate little. No.
No.
But no, seriously, I do want to thank you because I don't feel like I ever had I didn't come on and tell my my stuff. I didn't tell anything. I didn't. And as you well know, I tried before on a podcast and was.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because that's something that people don't know is that you did try to tell your side of this. So do you want to kind of get a little bit into what happened with that?
When everything started happening on social media back in April, I just kind of was sitting like in disbelief.
So this is when he came when he returned to the app then.
Yeah, when he returned to the app because I never had any intent on telling anything on social media because in my opinion it's not the place. I told a very close group of friends. I told police officers that I thought I trusted. I went to the police. I did file a report.
Okay, so if a report was filed, which a lot of people don't know either.
Yeah. So when all of this came out, or when he came out on social media and he brought it to the app, I sat for a little while and I was like I'm being attacked over, and there was just so much information and I'm like, I didn't say that, I didn't do that, I didn't, and I'm just like, so I thought I'm never going to be able to go on TikTok and say anything. Like, it doesn't matter. I can say the sky's blue and they're going to look up and see it and tell me I'm wrong because of, just everything that was going on at the time. So I contacted somebody who I had been on his podcast before. And he was gung-ho for it at first. He was like, what's going on? And he actually had some stories of his own about the guys. He never elaborated to me which ones, but I have those texts. And he said, I want you on here. I want you to tell your story. So we made this plan for me to do it. And the day before I was supposed to go do it, he said, hey, I really want to make this fair. I want the guys to come on and tell their story. And I said, I'm fine with that. I said, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm fine with, I'm fine with sitting across from them or doing it wherever. I want the truth to be out there. I'm being ran over by a steam truck here. And so the guys actually denied that podcast. They said, no, we will not come on. And so in turn, he said, I can't have you on my podcast because I don't feel like it would be fair for you to tell your side. And I said, okay. So you tell me that you stand up for domestic violence, you stand up for SA, you stand up for, and I apologize, I don't know what terminology I can use on here.
You can talk pretty openly on here.
Okay. You know that you have had people tell you stories and have accusations or whatever against these same people, but you won't hear my story.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no. He said, I'm so sorry. I don't want to get in the middle of it, and I don't want my podcast to suffer because of it. So
you did try.
Oh, I tried.
You tried.
He would not. And I said, okay. And at that point, I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can make my own podcast and tell my, because I knew what cancel culture was. I mean, my account got canceled on TikTok.
Sorry. I had a little bit with that.
I've come to terms with a lot of things, but I guess I got to a point I was just like, at this point, I think I'm just going to live my life out here. And because I was having some really nasty things said about me and about my family, about my relationships, about my kids. They attacked my job. They attacked my friends. They attacked my companies. And I just said, I'm not gonna speak because it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't, because no matter what I say, it's gonna get twisted, and that's why I've been so hesitant to talk.
And you had kind of tried to come forward on TikTok as well, because I remember a couple of videos where you had said, no, I'm gonna tell my side, and like someone had just commented, she was crucified on videos in her comments, and a lot are still there.
Yeah,
and I remember that because I will absolutely take accountability that I took part in that. I myself had bias for other reasons, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it got lost in translation, and I feel like every part of it, needs to be told. If any of it's going to be out there, then every part of it
needs to be out there. Right.
Should be told. So when did you start with content? But how did you start with?
So yeah, that's one thing everybody.
Or maybe even just how you got. Because this is your business too.
Right. So, I've been in the entertainment business for a long time. I had a talent agency. I put my own events on. I'd done all that. I had started working with Tainted, Lyric, and Ty, and Jake Barr came in and did some shows, and they were doing those. And it wasn't anything that we weren't looking at this whole big scheme, it was just, to me, it was another music show with some comedy thrown in because, Tainted is a musician, and so we did that, and my assistant at the time said, hey, there's somebody else that has reached out to me or something, and you should talk to him because they are some, big creators, and you should do like a bigger scale of what you're doing with these guys, with these other guys. They have a group, it's called the Ride Along, and I was like, maybe. I was going through a separation at the time. I was going through a which essentially, in my marriage, and I was working like a lot, and so I said, okay, I'll meet with them. And so I at one of the shows for Tainted and them, which was, I think, the Party With Us tour, I met Udi and Scales, and that was in February of 2021, and just sat and talked to them for a little while, and they were like, we really want you to come meet the other guys. So that progressed into a couple more phone calls, and then I went to Ride Along to actually meet all the rest of the guys to see, what, if anything, there was, what they could put together for a show on stage. Mm-hmm. And so, and if you see me looking down, I apologize.
It's a timeline.
It's a timeline.
And yeah, just like full transparency to everybody. Like
Yeah.
I also have a
Yeah.
copy
It's
of the
just,
timeline. That's what we're not reading from scripts. I
yeah,
just
no.
just want to be very transparent that they're
It's just, it's
timelines so
hard
that
to
we
keep up
stay
with.
on
Right.
track.
It's hard to
And
keep
it
up
is,
with.
and it's like this is intimidating as well. There's a lot of people in here. Um, there's a lot of comments cycling. I'm glad. Just so you guys know, if you're trying to direct hurtful comments towards
I can't
Daphne,
see
which
any comments,
she can't see the comments.
and I do
Um,
not want to see the comments.
yeah, like we've done it this way. Just so everybody knows, there will be a small segment when we're close to being done, where we will look at some of the questions that you guys have that haven't already been answered, and we'll try to get to some of those at the end. But she can't see the comments. Like
Right.
we did this in a way. So, but no,
Um,
I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we are both reading the same timeline.
yeah.
And if the public opinion declares, like, I can
Yeah.
also post the timeline
Yeah.
when we are done so that
Yeah.
people can see what we were referring to.
Right.
All right, go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted
No,
to make
you're
sure
fine.
that we
You're
both
fine.
had it.
No. So, I so Ride Along was March 5th. And these dates, I'm going to go ahead and say these dates are within a day of each other. I mean, like, I didn't take a calendar and go,
Right. It's an
March,
estimated time.
right. Around March 5th it was a Saturday that I arrived. I met with everybody. Ended up, I was supposed to leave that night, and I was actually supposed to go to watch another artist who was playing about an hour away. And they were like, no, if you're going to be our manager and you're going to stay and all this stuff, we need you here. You need to get to know us. And so I stayed. There was plenty of rooms in the cabin. My assistant was with me. I was not some single woman just in there, by myself. She was with me. And I stayed that night. And I apologize if you guys hear my dog barking in the background. So I stayed and went home the next day. That was my first true interaction with everybody. When I say everybody, when this first started, this was Udi Scales, Kingery, Kevin Lawson, Georgia. Cody was there, but he wasn't part of the group. Like he was a guest at Ride Along.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Jones was there, and Taco. And then, of course, some people had their wives, like Alyssa, Babe was there. April was there. I'm trying to think who all. Bree was there. Brittany was there. I'm just trying to think of who all was there. I mean, like, if you guys all go back and look, there's content from all of that. So, but again, I came in on that Saturday morning. I'm going to talk about everything. So I will touch on that is the place and time that it was said that the incident between April and Jimmy happened.
Okay.
That was supposedly the night before. I came in on Saturday morning. So that's my whole thing about that. I cannot speak on that because I do not know. I was not there.
You weren't there.
Right. That's one thing I do want to say. If anybody asks me a question, I'm only going to speak on what I know. I'm only going to speak on what I know or what was told to me by that person. Like if the interaction between myself and that person, not hearsay.
Right.
I don't want to speak on hearsay.
No.
That was done to me way too much. So that was a whole little, party thing. It really was. It was, kind of laid back. Everybody needed to get to know each other. It was business, but it was everybody hanging out. Probably a red flag for me should have been all the alcohol flowing and but I mean, I thought, well, they're on a friend's trip or whatever. I'm not judging anybody. I ended up leaving there and said, okay, we're going to do this. That's when we planned the first show, which was April the 9th.
Okay.
That was to be the first show that I combined Ride Along and Party with Us, which was Taint, Ty, and Jake. Those shows were to be combined.
Okay.
Originally, that show was planned, I believe, already for those other three guys, and we put them with it and got a larger venue. So if anybody that attended that show knows, it was in Sevierville. It was in a really big, like a, what would that be called? Just like I want to call it a theater, but a conference center. And so that was the very first show that people came out and they saw, was that one. There was like almost like 700 people there. And that was in Sevierville. That was April. The show was April the 9th. The majority of the guys spent several days there, and myself. Some didn't come till later. Some, they were all there by the day of the show, but it was nitpicking. And most everybody stayed in the cabin together because it was a huge cabin. It had like 12 bedrooms. So, I don't know if you want me to. I don't know if you want me to answer questions
I
on
want you to
things.
take a breath because you're very nervous, and I hate that. I hate how nervous you are, and you do have a lot of support in the comments as well. I don't want you to be sitting here freaking out. There's a lot of people,
I, I,
who are definitely supportive of you. So just kind of
I
take a
know.
breath. I know it's a lot of pressure.
I've come to terms with that. A lot of people heard a lot of things, and they don't like me for whatever reason, and you don't have to like me. You don't have to like me at all. But what happened to me, and it was real. And I never came on here and I talked about it. I never came on and talked about it. And I never got a chance to set the record straight. A lot of half-baked text messages and half-baked voicemails and non-truths have went around about me, and I.
So what was so like after the first combination that you guys did, what was your overall feeling? Like, were you still having a good feeling about it and thinking that things were gonna go good? Were you apprehensive?
So as you all know, and as you know, April the 9th was the very first. I'm going to call it an incident. So that's my wording, only because, but make no bones about it, it was an assault. But I'm going to call it an incident because I'd rather not get emotional on this podcast, and I'd rather just kind of smooth through this timeline.
Absolutely understand that.
That was the first incident with King Creek.
Okay.
That whole weekend was they were all so excited, especially, you could see how proud of themselves they were for their show and everything. And so the overall feeling of them was, this is the start of our careers. And the overall feeling of me after that night, because that happened the first night that it would happen right after the show, was, okay, where do we put this? What do you do? You have these people's careers in your hands, and now what do you do? What do you do?
And how many people?
9, 10. I mean, you count them all up, all of them. I mean, everyone I just said, including, then there was, Tainted and Ty, and we knew that was Jake's last show,
but they were all your responsibility at that point. Is in their money and them furthering was
Absolutely.
dependent on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had went full force ahead. You know, there were other shows already booked after that. We had shows that I'd already contracted with other venues that I think if you go back, we announced them like right after that. And those were the ones in South Carolina and Georgia. Um, and so those were like 3 weeks later. So
So prior to the incident, the all those shows were already scheduled. Like this was or
yeah,
yeah,
so
prior to.
the next two shows were already scheduled, and my agents that and the other agents that um, were doing stuff, and my partners and stuff, they were already looking for other stuff, looking for shows and stuff, and are looking for venues to put this in.
Now,
And
just out of curiosity, if you would have canceled everything immediately afterwards, what would that have entailed?
well, I'd had to have broken some contracts. um, and I don't know what it would have entailed for those guys. I think that it would have been, it would have never taken off. It would have never,
Could
it would
they
have,
have come back after you for canceling shows?
oh
Like,
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, venues can, absolutely. Anybody can, I mean, yeah, venues can. There's a lot of moving wheels to a lot of things that people they don't see. Once shows are done and tickets are up and tickets are selling, and it's a lot. You know, you you have not only the venue, you have your artists who are up counting on you for that money. That's um, the venue's counting on you for that money, because if you yank a show, then they have to replace it, and there's nothing for them to put in that place. Like I said, this is a business. It was a business. It wasn't just some fiasco party. It wasn't for me. I was a nervous wreck just about every time I went out. Um, so after that show, I guess it's important also for the timeline. I'm gonna back up between Ride Along and the first show. I spent a lot of time at TR's farm. We were planning Wood Talk, so I spent a lot of time at that farm with TR and Brittany, and with Udi. Cody was there some, because Cody didn't live too far from TR. I think Taco was there at that point between the first ride along and the first show. I think he was there some too, because at the time Taco only lived an hour from me. So yeah, so I would meet Taco typically. If I didn't fly, then I would meet Taco and drive there. If I flew, I would fly. And I would go, and Udi would pick me up from the airport, and we would drive to TR's.
oh,
We were planning Wood Talk at the time. After the show, after the March 9th, I didn't see Kingery anymore until the next shows, which were April 22nd, 23rd. But of course, keep in mind, I did see, between those shows, I saw Udi a lot because I went back to TR's farm again. I know there's going to be some questions about that. That just sets that timeline.
and if you want to be transparent about it right off the rip, you can, or we can wait for
I,
questions.
I mean, I think everybody knows I never spoke on it. He spoke on it, and other people spoke on it. That there was I hate to say the word affair, because I was still legally married, but I was separated, and I thought he was separated.
So there was a relationship there
Yes, there was
between you
a
and Udi.
yeah, there was yeah, and I know that the one thing I'm going to say is that I'm not completely innocent. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, poor me. I was, preyed on and all that. When it comes to the Udi thing, I'll take my accountability for that. But I also will take accountability that I said, no, this is got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to stop. But you know, um,
So you're out at TR's farm a lot.
yeah. And so the April 22nd, 23rd show was, and this is where everybody has all these questions about Georgia. That was Georgia's last shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the time, by the time we got to those two shows after the first show, I could tell that this was going to be a lot to handle because I had a lot of people have forgotten about Kevin Lawson. Wonderful guy. Um, honestly, I can't say anything bad about him. Um, Kevin is a
Which was a
he,
big relief to me.
yes, no. Kevin's a stand-up guy. He wanted things to be a certain way that when we first talked, we thought that things would be. Um, he didn't like it quickly turning into the vulgarity that was on stage, the sexuality, they did their dances and stuff, but there were other things that he's just like, if my daughter watches this, I don't want my daughter hearing some of the stuff that you say
Mm-hmm.
on stage. And, that's, uh, that's commendable. And, so we went back and forth with Kevin for a while and Georgia. So this was Kevin and Georgia going back and forth. Like, and the whole time it was like turmoil. And keep in mind, this is by show number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is if they were going to go forward with this or not. Georgia, I don't even know. I'll be dead honest. I don't even know what the turmoil with that is. I don't. I didn't know at the beginning. I know the guys didn't want him in the group. They wanted him out of the group. They said he was a liability. They said he was unstable. They hated, hate's a strong word, so I probably shouldn't use that word, but I'm just repeating what I was told. They very strongly disliked April. They had a soft spot for Alyssa, who is Babe, who at the time was George's longtime girlfriend. So we
Okay.
thought she was. Um, but they just disliked a lot of stuff, I guess, that they had seen and that they knew. Although I'm not sure why. And I will say this, that's very hypocritical of them. So I'll be the first person to call that out. That's super hypocritical.
Right.
But that was the excuse. Um, if you want to get down to the real reason, I know what it is. It came down to money. They didn't like splitting their stuff so many ways, There was talks about having a smaller group. Hey, let Lawson go. Let him go. Let him do his own thing. Let's get a smaller group. We want it to be just Kingry, Udi, and Taco, and maybe a host. At the time they wanted, let's kick Ty out and let's keep Cody. We don't need, I'm like, no. I said, absolutely not. I said, that was one stipulation that I came into this with was that Ty and Tank, Tank's music and Ty is a wonderful host and that's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Cody to death, but it's not happening. So it was a constant fight to keep that all together.
Right.
Eventually, though, we knew Lawson was going to be going. I knew he would. Like, I had so many side conversations with him because he just did not like the inner workings of stuff. And when I say hypocritical, I did not mean hypocritical of Lawson in any way. I meant the others.
Right.
So, the South Carolina and Georgia shows was where it blew up with Georgia. After that, he was done. A lot of people like to say that I pushed Georgia out. I did not. I tried to separate Georgia to just keep the peace. I tried to separate him and say, hey, let me help you do this. Because the guys were dead set that they didn't want him there. So that was that.
Did you
And
so do you but you believe that, like, at the end of the day, it was a money thing? Like,
oh yeah,
it was just
oh yeah,
smaller group, more money for all of them,
oh yeah,
so let's get
oh
rid
yeah,
of the ones that
oh yeah. Wait.
now, the only question so I have a question about that. Did you
Mhm.
feel or did you experience or see anything, like, once he was removed, once Georgia was like, "Okay, he's not gonna be a part of it anymore," was there any damage control done to like what we've received, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen happen. Did you see any of that, like, in person when it came to damage control for Georgia?
Damage control, as in they were trying to keep Georgia from talking, and yeah,
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 or
there's always that. I mean, and that was me too. I was just like, oh, this is bad PR, you guys, because I knew what they were doing, and I'm just like, I'm trying to save face, my job, while navigating all this stuff with Udi that I knew was wrong, and then navigating what was happening to me with Kingery, and I say that. A lot of people don't know that timeline. Um, that was between things happened between April and May 15th, April 9th and May 15th.
is when your how we wanna word it, your incident happened,
The assaults happened. Yeah.
the assaults happened
Yeah.
between you and Kingery.
Yeah. So
Now
that's
I have
the,
to ask you, of course, why after a second time did we not cancel shows? Same reason as the first
no,
time, different reasons?
no. Um,
And I hate it even coming out of my
I
mouth,
know,
but I know it's going to be asked,
I know,
and
I
just
know.
as somebody who's been in a relationship like that, like, you don't know until you're there, but you know that they're gonna be asked, and so I would rather just
Right.
get it out of the
And,
way now before we
right.
have
And
aggressive comments about it.
I'll answer that now, just because
And for anybody that's in the comment section, like, asking me to ask hard-hitting questions, this is an opportunity for her to tell her version of it. Um, and when it comes to you guys wanting proof of receipts, let me know what you want proof of after the show, because there is evidence that correlates her story as well.
Mhm.
If you guys would like that on full display, I guess I can do that for you. But this is primarily for her to get her side of the story out, because I didn't see any receipts from the other side. I didn't see any proof from the other side or demand of proof from the other side. So we're just going to listen.
So
So why did you feel like you needed to? Why couldn't you go? Why couldn't you stop what was going on?
of course at that time, you're deeper in. You're
Mhm.
you're you're deeper in. You have shows booked, and you have all these people, and honestly did not I didn't think that it would happen again. I didn't think that anything, and that's probably very naive of me, but so a lot of what I don't talk about is my previous relationship, and I don't want to bring that out, my marriage or anything. I don't want to bring that out on social media because it's not
And
for the world.
at this point, really quick, had you told anybody about what was going on, or no? Okay.
So um, I thought that I could handle it. I thought I could run. I thought I could lock my door. I thought, I don't know what I thought, honestly. I thought that I have a really good way of, when something bad happens to me, I can take it and I can put it here. And I'll leave it there.
Mhm. And was
Um,
there a difference between, during the day when shows were going on as opposed to after the
yeah,
shows were over? Like, how much did you really have to be around him during a show?
not a lot. I mean, like, and that's why I think it's important. Like, most people don't. don't know, maybe never paid attention. Like, I did a lot with Udi, of course, for a reason, but I did a lot with Taco. I did a lot. I never had I never had a single separate show with Kingery. I did with Ty. I did with Taco. I did like Mud Bash. I had which is one of my other things that I put on when we had Jelly Roll playing. I had Udi and Cody come hosted. I had Ty there. A lot of people were thinking, oh, she's got favorites, and it wasn't favorites. You know, I knew that Lawson and Georgia were on their way out. I didn't have favorites. I just I knew how, or I thought I knew how I could keep myself safe. Um, I acted like nothing happened, but it did, and I acted like nothing happened. But there was so much happening. Besides that, there was so much happening. It was just a constant everything. It was a constant drama, constant fight, and constant I don't even know like how I would describe it. It was almost like a cult/frat party.
And then wasn't there like someone that was brought on who was a police officer to also work security for you?
Yeah.
I mean, was kind of for you to make
So
sure that you.
so in the beginning, you know, we
And
had
that was
Gorilla.
Lonnie. I know that you guys are all about like
Right. Well,
food, names, and I get that. So
right.
Lonnie was brought on
Well,
more
in the
for
beginning,
security.
we had Gorilla, and
Mhm.
that didn't work out. You know, and I'm not gonna. I don't have any. You know, it was a clash. Gorilla was very. There was a clash with Lonnie too, because they did not like authority. None of them liked authority, unless it was them.
Right.
So Gorilla didn't work out. That whole, you know, it was because of all the stuff that happened on social media. They were like, oh, you know, we don't want that PR. Get rid of Gorilla. So I'm the bad guy, you
So
know.
when somebody was leaving, or how was this decided? Was this decided primarily by you? Was this decided as a group? Like, how did they decide who was there and who wasn't there?
A vote. They voted. They made that wasn't, you know, it was always, hey Daphne, what do you think? But you know, it was never. A lot of people like to look at me as um, the big bad manager, and you know, I managed the best that I could. Um, I have previous manager experience. I've just never experienced anything like that. Um, it was, I got them where they were supposed to go. I made sure that the business side of things was, you know, the tickets were taken care of, the hotel rooms were taken care of. That, you know, it was a constant. But I felt more like their assistant than their
Mhm.
manager per se. But yeah, so Gorilla left, and I hired Lonnie. You know, these shows, like I said, that was the last shows that Georgia was at, and we had the next shows were in Indiana, and then the next shows were in North Carolina.
Okay.
We're coming into June, so June is when I met the person that I'm dating now, and he came in to the picture with me, and he started coming to shows. Um, and that's when everything changed big time.
Okay. Can you explain that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. um, One of the things is like I was their possession. They did not want him there. But another thing that stopped was the incidences, the assaults. They stopped. Um, I I was with him at all times, pretty much. And so from June up until September, I was just moving along and trying to just put all that behind me and forget. I guess I know better. Forgets of trying to just figure out what I was going to do with it, how or what I was going to just but put it here, so I could get this here. And I look now. I take that responsibility of that I didn't speak out about what happened to me. So I don't know who else was hurt. And I live with that because it's a downward spiral with one of my friends that it happened with later. So we had Lonnie. Sorry, getting off track.
I'll reel you back in if you get too far. I promised you I would.
Had Lonnie. We scoot through all the shows throughout the summer. You know, planning for Wood Talk. They did not like me having a significant other because he was making me stand up for myself. You know, saying, "Hey, you shouldn't be doing this," and Rudy did not like me having him there because that was another story. So there was drama. There was drama the whole time. We were planning Wood Talk. Only certain people had a hand in that, others didn't, and those people wanted to keep it on the down low that the other ones didn't have. And I mean, so it was always a constant. At any given time, there was 7 or 8 different group chats because they didn't want this person in this, they didn't want this person in that one. Oh, don't tell this person this, and
that's a lot of group chats.
A lot of group chats.
That's a lot of group chats.
For the same people, yeah. But leaving this person out or leaving this person out. That's
so
I think.
How did Wood Talk? How did Wood Talk end up going?
It was very stressful, and it didn't. I guess anybody that went on the surface, we pulled it off. Behind the scenes, it was a debacle, but I don't want to focus a whole lot on Wood Talk other than the fact of there was an incident that happened there. The guys were, at the time, they were already mad at me because I had started trying to form another group under the CV thing, which was called Unbanned. And, that had Big O Texan in it, Sam Bailey, Tanya Lee, I think John Collins. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of everybody that was in it.
On that one.
Yeah, there was. And that we were trying to do the same thing that I was doing with content violation, that I was, but make it an umbrella, making it, other people wanted to do this. And I was like, it can be done. It can so be done, and we had the staff to try to push it out there. But these guys were not having it. They wanted to be the stars. They wanted the attention on them. They did not want to interact with these guys. That's something I wish now that I would have said, you know what? Stop it.
And at this point still, because it had stopped, you had Jared with you at the shows. So there were no more assaults once that kind of came into play. And I just lost track of my question. But at that point still, you had told nobody.
No.
It was business as usual.
Right.
Okay.
I put it here and I just left it here.
And I'll just kind of I'll show you just a little support comment that you do have. Lawless is in here supporting you too.
Hey girl.
I just wanted to show that you do have some Dairies in here with you too.
Hey Dairy.
You have some support girls up in here too.
Dairy's awesome. Lawless is.
And April and Georgia are here with an open mind as well.
And that's I have nothing. I don't have any. I'm trying real hard not to have ill will towards anybody. You know, I think Georgia has a lot towards me, but you know, like I said before, there's a lot of things that I saw and a lot of things that I'm not going to pretend like I'm totally innocent and, you know, I set aside and let a lot of things happen. But um, I think things just got twisted so much that, mhm.
Well, it's kind of like you said. I mean, if there were 7 group chats that were going on, that's multiple conversations between the same group, and it's different
Right.
different attitudes in each group depending on who's in the group.
Yep.
So that's enough to twist a story 13 ways from
From Sunday.
sideways.
Mm-hmm.
When did it come to like a head? And for those of you who thought that you're gonna get like super juicy details about like the whole content violation crew, like that's really not what she's doing here. She's just telling her story.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I don't, if I was going to pick them all apart, I mean, I can tell you, I can tell you my opinion. I can tell you how they acted, you know, off camera or off the stage. And, but,
I'm sure we'll get some
right. I mean,
with
but
Q&A
it's,
portion, but we're already at 50 and I promised you I was going to
oh, you're fine. You're fine.
keep you on track before the Q&A part
Right.
starts
So,
because we're
yeah.
close to where you were done and
Right. Right.
it kind of was done.
So at Wood Talk, I know there's a video surfacing of Kingry coming in, blowing up at me. The guys were up in arms, you know, that's
And
at
this
this
is the
time.
video that was released as well.
Right.
If you guys didn't see that video, I think it's still available on my page. And if
Okay.
it's not, I'll make it available on my
Right.
Instagram after this.
Right.
But let's kind of set the stage for that one, like before he came in, you
Before
know.
he came in, he and I had a conversation because he had said, "What's wrong?" Basically, it was like, "What's wrong with Udi?" Or, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And I hate to say this, but it's like, "Well, his wife's here, you know, and so maybe that's what's wrong with him, you know." And he goes, "Wow," you know, and so I did. I just, you know, and I don't think he knew. I think he knew, but
And
he
that's
didn't know.
he did not know about the previous
Mm-mm,
relationship with you.
mm-mm,
Okay.
mm-mm.
And
And so
Udi.
I just blurted it out, and I that they were all up in arms. I blurted it out to him. They were all up in arms with me still about trying to, not all of them, but some of them were up in arms with me trying to put together the unband. They didn't want that going on. You know, they felt like I was going to take attention away from them. Um, and so I had Udi and Cody previously at another event. You know, they were doing these mud events, and they were hosting. They had been in my hometown, and I had went down to. I was hurt at Woodtop. So those of you, I was hurting very badly. I had bruised ribs. Um, Cody and I collided on a water slide. Now Cody may seem little. Cody ran me over on a water slide. Um, and I'm not talking about any water slide. I'm talking about a water slide that went down the side of a mountain. So I was hurt at Woodtalk. I didn't, you know, I depended on the volunteers that were there to do a lot. I depended on a lot of people to do a lot. And I want to, right now, in case I never got to thank you and you were there, thank you. And if you helped, thank you very much. Um, so, um, so that, just that, he came in, Kinger came in the trailer. You know, he had his wife at the time. I guess he had her all in arms, and I still don't know what for because earlier in the day, she and I were getting along just fine. You know, I was like, hey, you know, um, it was my job to make sure that I got along with everybody. So they came in. I think that people were just shocked that that happened. The people that were sitting in there. I did not film that. That was filmed by someone. I'm not going to bring her name up in this, but she was sitting there and she turned her camera on when he burst through the door.
Now, is she the one that had was she the one with the child that was in there
No,
or
no,
okay,
no,
that was somebody,
no.
but there were
Yeah,
children in
yeah. There was a kid in there. Yeah, and yeah, there was a child in there, a little boy, and I was just, I mean, like honestly, if we were all just shocked, I was just like, what the hell, you know, like what are you doing? And then she's just,
Mhm.
and I think it took us all a second to get up, and then we kind of came at, and then you know, I think Katie was in there. Tanya his wife, and she's like, she's pushing him out the door and like basically breaking up a fight, like what is, and so they're out the door, and it was a big screaming match out there, and it was some very bad after things that went on, but
And
after that,
what was he so what was the fight like what was that about? What was with the
he
it was
came
arguing
in.
over who owned the rights to
He came in because, again, they were up in arms that content violation was going to be not just them, that there were going to be groups underneath them. And they were like, no, we're a part of this business, blah, 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 okay, you can have.
Okay, so the little side ones that you were gonna do, the other shows with different creators, you were still gonna
Right.
keep them under content violations, but
Correct.
each event would have a different name.
Correct.
Okay.
And it was just a debacle. Like I said, some of them wanted all the spotlight. They didn't want to put these people out. They did not want me out on the road with them. It was made, a statement was made by Udi that if you're not on the road, we're not going. And I'm like, my job as a manager and a business owner is not to be out here on the road. My job was to get you guys doing what you're doing, and then to do this with someone else. My job was not to ever just be your tour manager or whatever. That's but that's how it went. I mean, I'm this horrible business person. I've heard all these stories about me, and they trusted me enough to form their LLCs. They trusted me enough to trademark stuff for them. They trusted me enough to, tap into their finances for them. They trusted me enough to do a lot of things. But that was a totally different story later.
Yeah.
So,
And then so it dissolved when? Like when was Woodtalk the final?
no.
No.
We had shows booked. I actually had Kingry and Taco on a show at a mud park. I had them on a mud park. Again, I did have them out. I knew Jerry was going to be there with me. It was in North Carolina. So I had them playing a mud park. And so after all that went down, I'll try to speed up here some. After all that went down, I said, okay. They came to me and said, we still want to do this, and Kingry came to me afterwards and was apologizing. I'm so sorry. And so I just squashed it because, again, I already advertising these people to be at these shows. And I remember Jared being like, I cannot believe you're going to let them. And I was like, it's business at this point. It's business. It's business. Hindsight. I allowed them to do that show, and I don't think I ever went back to a content violation show after that.
And when did you
someone else went and did it for me.
Right. When did you decide to press charges, talk? Because we're gonna go a little bit longer than planned with the Q&A. But sorry. I want to get into don't. I think we did great. I think we did great with the timeline. There was no way that we were gonna get that done.
It was a huge timeline. It's like a lot of people
in under an hour. It's a big chunk of your life, and I'm sure that there's still people that have questions about the timeline and stuff like that. But I think it's really important to also get into when you did go to press charges, and a question that I do want to ask quickly.
Yes.
And if you're not comfortable answering, because I didn't really ask you this before we came on, because I didn't realize I was going to ask it. Are you comfortable answering if anybody from TikTok reached out to you in regards of your assault and offered to help you? Okay. And maybe pretended to be something that they weren't?
Oh yeah, we can get into that.
Okay. Because you had decided to tell you had told a couple of people and you had decided to press charges.
So in all fairness, I was on vacation. And Lawless had went to an event. She told me she was going, and I was just like, well, just be careful, I can't, you know, and this is a really bad misconception. This is the whole stigma. I hate this. People see, oh, she's strong. She can take care of herself. She can. You're right. I can. And she can. And you can. I'm not, I don't, God, this is going to come out horrible. I'm not one of these, I don't go and, as you had said before, I don't go sit in a corner and cry. I figure out how to deal with it, and I just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So she went, and this is when what happened to her happened to her. She called me the next day. This was in the 1st of October. She called me the next day, and Lawless, please don't kill me for saying this. She looked horrible. When she called me, she FaceTimed me. She looked, and she goes, something happened last night. And when she said that, I will never in my life forget where I was sitting. I was on the back deck of our condo we were in, and Jared was sitting in front of me, and his little boy was there, and I got up immediately, and I walked inside, and I was just like, what happened? Because I knew, like, I had this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. And she told me, and I was like, okay. And I sat there, and I was like, fuck, and I said, well, what else? And we had conversations, and like, I didn't tell her. I think she knew. She never said anything. Like, she and I had this unspoken type of thing for a while. And fast forward to all this stuff was going on with the guys. You kept hearing this stuff, and I think maybe she put her, maybe she I think she sat on it for a little while. Of course, when you do that, you're like, when that happens, you don't know what to do. You don't. You don't. Until it happens to you, or until something happens to you, you can say, I would have done this. I would have, why didn't you fight? Why didn't you do this? How can you? Until that happens to you, you don't know. I promise you, you don't know. Look at Jessie. She's not a person to sit in the corner and cry. And she and I had a lot of conversations, and one of them was, have we just become numb to?
Yeah, I remember having that conversation with her when she told me.
Yeah, it's like, do you just become numb to this?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody should be
I
numb.
wonder if you're broken. Like, is
Are you
something wrong
broken?
with me?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's something wrong with me. That's the big one. Fast forward to, I'll just skip basically to, I went out to, went down to Florida to Conservative Ants. I was down there. I don't even remember what all was coming out about the guys at the time. I did a live, and I remember there was like 4,000 people in that live. And I was on that by myself.
I got blocked from that live.
You got blocked? Oh, now look, I don't know who was moderating now.
It was Jared, and me and Jared don't have good.
Okay. Well,
so it was understandable at that time. And for those this is a really good segue. For those of you asking about that situation, totally different situation. They were not dating at the time, and we're not talking about it because it simply just taints what we're doing right now. Yeah. We are putting aside those differences for her right now.
So I think there was a lot of moderators in there. I don't know, but I sat there that day, and I'm not. I mean, this is it. I'm doing now what I'd wish I'd have done then.
Because at the time, nobody knew that anything had happened to you, and you had to go live to do PR for the whole situation.
And I remember sitting there thinking, that little red button, push it and just tell everything, Daphne. Just tell everything. But I didn't. And I didn't. And so I came home from that trip to Florida, and I remember Sully picked me up from the airport. And I almost didn't make it home. When I got there, I got in the car, and he was just like, happy go, he's always happy go lucky, and I broke down. And I remember him pulling over on the side of the road, and we sat for almost 2 hours while I just said everything. And I think I broke him. He's not been the same since.
It's a lot, though. I mean, it's a lot as a significant other, as a friend. I mean, as anybody, especially to have that.
He is one of my best. Yeah, he's a good person. He's one of my good friends. He's one of my best friends, but he's also a very honest person. Very fair. So I go home, and I think it was like the next day, maybe, or 2 days later, or it was pretty close. Like, all this happened between, like, right at Halloween and November the 6th, 7th. I go home, and I was like, I cried. I don't think I got out of bed for a couple days, and I knew I had to tell Jared. So I was on the phone with Flawless, or to Jesse, and I'll never forget, I was at the bank, and I had driven to Sonic, so in my hometown, it's like pretty close. Yes, I was FaceTiming and driving.
Okay.
And she just looked at me, and she said, she was talking about it, and she said, "There's something you're not telling me. There's something." And I did. I just started. I was crying, and she said, "I knew it." And so we talked about it, and the one thing I feel like that always got misconstrued is I never wanted to go to social media. I didn't make her go to social media. I love her. I think she felt like that if she went and told her story, that I would have the strength to go to social media.
I think Wallace just comes off as like that protector person. Like,
she is.
She wants to save everybody.
She
and
wants to
takes
save
a lot of
everybody.
that responsibility on herself.
Yeah. She knew. She's just like, and I think she knew that I had this guilt on me, that I felt like that it was my fault it happened to her because I never spoke up. So she went on a headhunting case. She was like, and I love her for that. But
And I think in a way she really took it on herself to like pave that way for you.
Yeah.
She wanted you to feel supported enough to where you would come forward. And you did.
I did. I went forward.
You did.
I did.
How many? Because you had to go to 2 different police departments, correct?
I did. So I did. I went to the police department. I won't get into that whole. Maybe there's part 2 to the podcast. We can talk about police corruption.
Because there was a lot of there was a lot of one of the departments somebody worked for that was also a part of
there was a lot of corruption, a lot of
but there was also, and I got to keep coming back to this because it is very upsetting to me that somebody did this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, so within a span of 2 days, I think I broke down and talked to the majority of the guys. I don't think I ever talked to Lawson. I don't think. I talked to, of course, to Udi. I think TR was the first one I talked to. TR never went back out on the road with these guys after I told him what I told him. I'm not, you know, I told, I think TR was the first. I almost think Udi was the last that I told, maybe, because I just, that was his best friend. But I talked to all of them individually. I didn't never talk to Cody. Cody and I had a love-hate relationship. I have nothing against Cody at all. I think Udi had tainted Cody's mind about some things, but that's just my opinion. I had somebody come to me when all this was coming out about Jesse and about other women, and there were other women. And I think that's important to be said. And someone contacted Jared and said, hey, because he knew that Jared was friends with Jesse, and Jared was like, there's somebody else I think you need to talk to, and so he told, I'm just going to say this. Am I allowed to just go ahead and say this? Like, okay. It was Anthony. It was All Money. He came to Jared and he said, I think he originally contacted Jared because they'd kind of gotten close at Wood Talk, and he came to Jared and he said, what's going on? I want to get to the bottom of this, blah, blah, blah. I think it was originally about Jesse. And Jared's like, you need to talk to Daphne if she'll talk to you. And so they called me on a 3-way call at first because Jared's like, I have All Money on the other line. And I'm like, why do you have All Money on the other line? Like, why? I don't want to talk to him about this. I didn't want to talk to the people I'd already talked to about it. He goes, it's important you talk to him.
Just want to throw that up there.
Yeah, so that Jesse, he did. He called.
You have corroborating stories because this is something that we did talk about publicly. And I want people to know that we did have confirmation of this from multiple people.
So he called. So him and Jared called me on 3-way because Jared knew that I probably wouldn't talk to him by myself. And he told me that he was
there's
Dairy. Yep, Dairy. He told me he was an ATF. I don't know if he said the words ATF. I think he said ATF. I don't remember, but later on he told me. He reiterated it, but at that moment, he was a undercover officer. He was doing some type of something on TikTok for an undercover sting or child something anyway, and child abuse, child porn, child something, I don't know. And he told me that if I told anybody that he was an undercover officer by me telling him that I could spend 10 years in prison, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, okay, maybe now I look back and I think you're a freaking idiot, Daphne.
Wait, you said what about 10 years in prison?
He said that if I told anybody, if I ever told anybody that he told me that he was an officer doing an investigation, that I could face up to 10 years in jail.
Did he say this? Did he say this over to you over the phone or via
over the phone? And he told that to other people, I believe. I know he told it to Jared.
Okay.
On a separate call. And so he told me. I talked to him over a period of a couple of weeks. I talked to him a lot.
And so did the other. I mean, there were promises made to other alleged victims because we have to be very careful with the terminology here. Promises of buying electronics to some of the alleged victims to help them out and things like that were also reported.
He told me that he said I need to know everything. he said, in order for me to help you, I need you to tell me everything. I need you to tell me everything that you're, like tell me the whole entire story. Don't leave anything out. I know it's hard. I know, and so I did. I even told him about physical evidence that I had. And this is one thing I do want to keep in mind, or I do want to say that I don't think I've actually said, I think other people have said, but when the guys asked Kingery at first about me, he swore about not just me, but everybody else, but me. I mean, me included, especially me. I never touched her. I never touched any of those women. I never touched her, never touched her, never touched her, never touched her. Somewhere between November and the spring, he found out that I had physical evidence against him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he changed his story and said, well, okay, yeah, we had.
Do you know how he found out? Was it after your conversation with?
It was after my conversation. So either Almany told him or Udi told him. It had to be one of the two. It had to be. Or possibly Lonnie, but I don't think it was Lonnie, I believe, because at the time he was. So Almany told me that he was going to go and try to get in close with, Udi and Kingery and find out, the corruption and the, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to make them think I'm their friends. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So that story changed, and that's where the affair came in. But I'm
So
going
then
to
the
sit here.
story changed to it was an affair.
I did not have
But
enough.
was there at any time during your encounters with Kingery, was there ever a willing physical relationship of any kind?
No, and I did not have an affair with him.
Right.
And
And he
you're not
was
gonna.
I mean, he was married during
Yes, he was.
the time frame that this happened, but this was not a relationship
No,
that the two of you
no,
were engaged in.
no, and no, and all the text messages that came out, and they were like, I guess I was just blown away at how they were all just. Some of them didn't even make sense to me. Like I was just like, those are missing. Like that's missing a part, or
Mm.
that's in the wrong context. Like one of the things I think I saw was come to my room or something. Hello. If everybody would have went back and done their entire research, the entire game was in my room. We're on a live.
Right.
Um,
Well, and if he would have showed the
right.
top portion, there was a lot that he didn't show the messages leading into it,
I'm on a podcast.
or
Wait a minute, baby.
the
Sorry, my phone.
messages. Oh no, it's
Right.
okay. Or the messages following it.
Right. Right.
Why? So let's finish up the charges. So was that successful? Was it successful in
So,
both police departments?
I don't
One,
want to say too much because
right,
now we're really going back. We're
right.
really going back. I had a horrible experience with one of the police departments because of their affiliation with someone in that in the group that I'd hired for security.
Mhm.
I went to that police department 3 times. The first time I went, I had a horrible interview, and I think that was just by the luck of the draw. I think they need to train their officers better.
Yeah.
It was a female, but I think they need to train their officers better because I left feeling really unsettled. She got up 2 different times and took a smoke break during my.
While you were telling her what happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I've gone back to that department 3 different times now. The last time being, the last time I was left standing on a sidewalk to tell my story through a buzzer because I
You couldn't
asked.
even go into the department.
No, I asked to talk to the supervisor. So, so another department, I sat on this. I sat on it for a while. I sat on it, thinking, I don't know what to do, you know? And so I finally got the strength. The last time that I was at the police department, I left and I sat in a parking lot, and I remember being on the phone to Jared, and he's just like, he was so mad he was going to come to the police department. I'm like, you're not. I wouldn't let him come with me the first time. And he said, there's got to be somebody. And I said, you know what? Mm-hmm. So I called my hometown, and my cousin has been in law enforcement, DEA officer for a long time. So it's kind of hard for me to talk horrible on cops.
It is, but you know what? Nobody hates a bad cop more
Mm-hmm.
than
Than a good cop. And so he put me in touch with an investigator in my hometown, and that investigator, God love him, has been wonderful.
mm-hmm.
But if I told you the amount of brick walls that man has hit trying to get through to Laurinburg Police Department, he contacted the SBI, and if no one knows what that is, that's that's kind of like the, if you're from Tennessee, it's kind of like the TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. This is something that they investigate. They investigate cops.
Mm-hmm.
He called the DA, trying to get the DA to take a look at it and move it out of that county. Like I sat in his office while he made these calls. Like I, again, had to go in and tell the entire story again. I can't speak more highly about him. His name is Sam. He's a good cop.
So where is it now?
It is with me basically having almost a nervous breakdown because of everything that was going on online. I when I was doing everything I could to keep my head above water, not drown. My businesses had been, they came after my businesses. It was like it was a smear campaign, and
It was.
it almost worked because they knew if they got me. Sorry guys, I'm putting like Vaseline on my lips. They're chapped. They knew if they got me, and they made me look very not credible, that nobody in their right mind is going to come out and tell what happened to them. Yeah. Nobody.
You did.
But I did now. So yeah, it's kind of sitting idle right now until I get, and I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Till I go back and we say, okay, now where do we go from here? Because the statements have been made, the reports have been done. God, the corruption is not even. I saw somebody make a statement or make a comment, and I hope she's in here, that police departments have a job to do. Mm-hmm. And that, no, it's not that way. They have a job to do. They won't just turn their head and look the other way and not investigate something.
That's not true.
Yes, they will. I promise you they will. I promise
if
you.
you guys want to start putting a couple of questions in here, like, because we are to a point where we can, if you guys want to put a couple in there that I can bring up
I'm
to
ready.
her.
I am. I mean, I know people have questions, and I'll answer questions. There's some things I probably can't speak on or won't speak on.
And some of them are like you weren't around. Like it was after you had left, because it's talking about Sam and stuff. But
yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I don't know anything about that.
Right.
I know, I mean, like, as you know, Kat,
We
I
have
mean, like, we
questions
may have to put
of
receipts out.
yeah, but what is a receipt? You know what I mean?
I think at this point, a receipt is corroborating evidence to show that
Right,
this was lied about.
right.
This was put out and twisted in a way to make people think a certain way about somebody
Mhm.
and to never give that person a chance to speak
Right.
and to keep hopefully other people from speaking, and even went so far as to send people to people like they did Jesse, to send people to try to make them, hey, like, Jesse has a career on. I don't,
Mhm.
she and I, we've talked about this. Like, I don't hate her for this. She has a career on here. This is her
Yes,
career. This is her career,
yes.
and having to back away from all this. And, she chose to, at one point, she just said, I'm not speaking on it anymore.
Mhm.
And
And she's there again now. I
yeah,
think but I think she feels I don't know what word I'm looking for, vindicated in a way.
yeah,
She feels more heard,
right. Because what
this time
happened to her,
around and
and she
right.
called it some fuckboy shit. It was, but it was more than that because she's strong
Yes.
and I'm
Mhm.
strong. And
Now, Lynn, you're saying, what did semantics play in this? And Daphne doesn't really know
I
her,
know a
right?
little bit.
You know a little bit.
I know a little bit.
For me, in my personal opinion, as someone who was a part of the return, I think semantics was PR. It was a lot of let's make it look this way. She was also aware of what happened to Lawless
Yes.
while covering it up. Was Kingree's yes, she was at Woodtalk.
Yes, she was.
Yes, she was at Woodtalk.
She actually came
Well,
to one other show, I think. Who
uh,
ran the content violation TikTok page?
TikTok page.
Now that you're gonna have to ask me when, because um, a lot of times, so there was several people logged into it at one time. You can have three people logged into it. So Rev ran it for a while, and that's another person. I'm just gonna say this:
Go ahead.
I would never, ever, and I hope, and I hate talking just total shit about somebody, but John the Rev Mary, you are a piece of shit, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Were you well, you wouldn't have been around for like the Kingery vote on whether or not he got to stay apart because you were already gone by then, correct?
No, I knew about it.
So we have
I was.
questions on do you know how people voted?
Are you talking about like who voted to keep him in the shows? So I
I'm
will say
looking for
this.
you, April.
I will say this. I know that TR backed off and said he was done. He walked away. He threw his hands up and said, "I'm not going back out." I can't.
Mhm.
I'm gonna. I mean, he stayed. He tried to stay. I'm trying to think of when the vote was. Oh God, like I should have better dates for that.
Well, this is like a
But
random question too. We
I
didn't
know, like I obviously that Taco and Udi stayed on the road with him, so there's that. Um,
can
I,
he still be charged? Yeah, I would imagine so.
yeah,
I mean, technically her charges are still pending.
yeah.
You didn't drop, you just
No,
took
I
a
didn't drop
she
him.
walked away
Right, I didn't drop
for
him.
right
He
now.
can still be charged. Yes,
Did you feel that anybody from content violation like had your back? I'm
I
looking
did.
for April.
I did. I felt like TR had my back. In the beginning, I'm going to say this. In the beginning, I haven't spoken to TR in a while. Um, I think during all of that, I know Lawson had my back, but oh, hold on one second about that couch video. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, I just have it up there for when
Okay.
you're done.
Um, uh,
Sorry. I didn't mean to confuse you.
TR, I think, did. They all presented like they did at first when I told them.
Mhm.
Even up until like January, I think it was February or January. I can't. I have to look on my phone, but I have a text. I don't remember from Udi's, saying. I mean, it was December for January. How proud, I am of you. I hope you're doing okay. Um, TR, I believe he believed every word I was saying. It's hard to say because I kind of I shut off and just try to just distance myself, I guess. I went into a very deep depression for a little while.
Yeah.
So, couch video,
There's a
Udi
couch
King.
video with Udi and King and Taco.
Are you talking about Are you talking about the one in the hotel with? I remember this, but I don't remember the context of it. Jesus, help me out here.
I don't remember, so we'll see if she puts it back up. So she was not there for Jimmy Jones. She was not there the evening that it happened.
All right, so I need to. If I'm gonna tell the truth, I'm gonna tell the whole truth. Like I'm not. There's no something I skipped over. Jimmy, I was not there that night. Don't know what happened. Don't know. I can't speak on what happened between him and April. I don't know. I can speak on my own incident with Jimmy. Did he assault me? No. You can call assault whatever you want to call it. No, he didn't. He got drunk and did some inappropriate things. He never laid a finger on me. And he bowed out of that group when I asked him to. That is what it is. But I was not there for the April thing. I came the next night. Her acknowledgement. I didn't try to cover it up. I knew that the guys knew about it. I knew they knew about it, and they, on several occasions, said, "What do you want us to do? Do we, They were asking April this, not me. What do you want to do?" And I told them, I was like, I don't feel like this is something that needs to be on social media. Just like I still feel the same way about my stuff. The reason I didn't speak on social media is because I felt like it didn't need to be on social media. Mm-hmm. I felt like that they needed to turn it in, that they needed to talk with her and turn it in. And if they felt like that there was validity in that why was he still on the road? Yeah. And when it happened, what happened with him, like I said, he did not assault me, but what happened, the little incident that happened, I immediately, and I will show you, I think I did send it to you, Kat, the text where I told him, maybe I will send it to you after this so you can confirm it. I said, "You're gone. You're done." Right. And he was. So if anybody wonders why Jimmy left the group,
section, it's hard to keep up with.
It is so hard.
And but text is not helping me with
text. What are you doing?
With the comment sections. Text. There's so many questions.
I think I answered that. I'm sure he's probably going through a whole bunch of.
We're at an hour and a half. So someone's asking about handwritten financials, and I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yes, so I think the handwritten financials that you guys were shown, I had spreadsheets. I'd sent emails to, Udi was the one that, in the beginning, that he was supposed to report to everybody else, ended up later on being TR. But I think the one that you guys saw online, I was on my way to a vacation, and I was freaking out. Literally, it's a lot to go through. And so I scratched it down on a piece of paper so they would know how much they were getting paid. So I wanted to make sure the guys got paid. That was always my first and foremost thing, is to make sure they got their money. And it was that piece of paper, and Sully can back this up, I think even Alyssa, because she was there, that I screwed up and did it wrong and ended up leaving one of the guys out because there was so much going on, and forgot to divide it the right way. Divide their...
Oh, okay. I know what they're talking about now.
And
yeah, there was one handwritten receipt.
Yeah. And so I paid that person because I didn't want to go back and take money back from the guys when I'd already told them how much they were getting paid, because I didn't realize it till the next day. I took my commission and paid that person. I'm not trying to act like a angel or whatever.
The one that you were telling me about where you messed up.
I did. Like I didn't cheat.
Yeah, you owned it. on there with me. So I am getting April's remainder of, I'm texting with her now, guys.
Okay.
Around what date?
I'm sorry this was so long. It was
No,
just
don't be.
a lot. Around what
And
time?
remember that if you are not comfortable with questions, you can say no. So I'm just reminding you of that. So they're wondering, like, when did you tell the content violations guys? Was it
Between November,
after Lawless?
it was after Lawless. Yeah,
Your story came out after Lawless
right,
in general, right?
right. So it was between roughly between November 1st and November 6th.
Okay.
Is
And
when
then the video that April is wondering about, I guess there was a video that was done on the couch with Taco and Udi and Kingry. I think it was denying allegations.
I
But
think I remember that.
well, never mind.
I don't remember.
So I think they were kind of going at Tim in it.
I
But
remember, yeah, I did.
April does want me to ask what she is mostly wanting me to ask you is if you believe her story with Jimmy Jones.
I know what happened with me with Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I will say this: it was not assault on me. Me, I know what he did was inappropriate, which is why he left. I'm not going to lie for anybody anymore at all. Like, cards are off the table here, people. I don't know what happened, April. I believe something happened for you to be upset about it. Do I believe? I believe that something happened. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, so that's all I can say. It's like I wasn't there, and so much got again misconstrued, and this and this and this. People made the comment, well, she's on your case that you kept on
My text finally showed up.
with them. You kept being around him, but I understand that. So I understand. So it's not a question of me, what I believe and everything. I know, like I said, the inappropriate thing that happened with me. And to be honest with you, I can't even remember exactly what was said that happened between you and him.
Right.
I can't. So it's hard for me to.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel now? Because we're done. Like, we're done. I'm not gonna. I'm not. I'm seeing like more comments. So people are wondering if you're thinking about possibly coming back to TikTok at any point. But I'm just wondering, like, do you feel better? Do you feel worse? Do you?
Honestly, I had a horrible. As you know, I was very anxious today.
Yes, I got lots of text messages
Yeah,
today. I was very scared that you were going to be like, I'm done. I don't want to do
no,
this. Which I told you that you could,
right.
like, if you.
I can take a deep breath.
You can take a deep breath. Brittany, I will send you over the timeline when we are done. And you're okay with me posting
I'm
the
fine
timeline?
with it.
I am going to post the timeline when we are done, which is what we kind of tried to stay on track with tonight. And then I'll shoot you that over as well, because I know that Brittany and Sam are also doing a lot of covering of what's going on. So I want to make sure that they have.
I want to say this. When all this came out, to begin with, I know I didn't come and I didn't talk. That was one thing that I didn't speak up. For a very long time, I didn't speak up, and I'm still against, just social media being a jury and judge, and but I had a lot of people come at me, whether you believed me or not. This is where I'm going with this. So there's a video on my timeline. It was the last video I made on my page, I believe. It's
Is that the
the
one
Dollar
from Dollar
General.
General?
The Dollar General. I have stepped up to Walmart, people.
We low key almost made the backdrop, the
Yeah.
Dollar General tonight for you guys just to break the ice, but we decided not to.
But there were people coming and saying horrible things to me about me, just horrible. Like that had nothing to do with anything. You know, you don't know me, but you also don't know him. You don't know the guys. I spent a lot of time with them, a lot. Um, I guess my thing is one thing I've learned, and this is don't be so quick to judge what you think happened. Social media is it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, and I think I'm a pretty strong person, and I think that maybe if I had been any of a weaker person,
Yeah.
that I may not be sitting here today because there were some horrible, horrible, horrible things said. And compassion, I guess, is the thing I say is, you don't know. You just don't know. And again, y'all don't have to like me. You don't have to even believe me. But I think it's important maybe that we take away from all this is that to be compassionate with people, because I am not going to go out and attack any of these people that did things to me. As you see, Kat and I are sitting here talking, and I appreciate her giving me this platform to do this.
Well, you shouldn't, but like I owed it. It was the right thing to do. I mean, thank you for even being willing to talk to me at all. Because I played a part in this. I'm very guilty of letting bias get in the way, and so many different opinions coming at you from so many different angles, and so much. This is my receipt, and here's my proof, and you believe it because it's cherry picked, or
it's real easy to believe things when you
yeah,
want to believe that somebody didn't do horrible things, or you want to, I know, I know, I know I'm guilty of that. Like I said, I'll own my guilt in this, but I want others to own theirs.
yeah,
I want, especially the law enforcement, and especially Kingery, other people that took an oath and they didn't hold up to it, and that told outright lies. One of them being the person I hired for my security, which is Lonnie. Told an outright lie. I mean, cold busted lie.
yeah.
and and with that lie, discredited me. But thanks to Mac, that lie was picked apart.
These are all things that just I never thought that I'd hear or be a part of.
I know. I'm gonna be honest. There are things
It's
because I
very
remember
bizarre
when
where we
Mac.
all are right now. Like
I know. I remember when
it's
Mac was
uncomfy.
when Mac was coming at me, like in April when he was saying, and then I was like, "Well, you're kind of a monster." and Mac, please don't hate me for saying that. I just because I appreciate him now.
I just want to make sure that like every part is told now.
I do
You know
too.
what I
I
mean?
do too.
I appreciate you coming on tonight, like a lot, and telling your story. And you guys, it will be available and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the whole thing is like me sending you that text message, when he put that up and I said, no, 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 no. That's not how that went. And I have nothing to hide. So here, let me send you this. Because this is the
Right. And so she sent me the screenshot. Like when you see the screenshot that he put up, she sent me the full screenshot with the
with the date
actual
and the
date
time and
that
the
was attached to it. It was not months after they stopped working together. It was back in September. It was prior. It was
yeah,
it was when they were still working
right. It was
together.
right.
And this whole episode will be available for you guys as well. It stays up here. It doesn't go anywhere at all. Daphne, thank you again. We're
Thank
at like
you.
an hour
Oh,
40.
thank you.
So
Thank you.
I'm gonna pull you out,
Bye.
and I'm actually gonna pull my counterpartner back in here too, so that
Tex, thank you for being
we
back there.
will
I know you gave up your spot. Thank
we
No,
you.
you're
will
fine. Totally
Thank
fine.
we
you.
will end the show with me and Tex, and
Okay.
you're welcome to hang out in the back room until like I'm only gonna be on for a couple more minutes. If
Okay.
not, then I will talk to you when I talk to you, and I
I'll
appreciate
hang
you.
out and watch you close it out, and then
Yeah,
I'll.
you can hang out, and then we'll be in the back room like we started off.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we made it through it. That
Yes,
one made
ma'am.
me
You
Well,
did
that one made me
fantastic.
very nervous. You know what I mean? Because like, God, we played such a part in that. We were and just like stupid mistakes that were made and not listening to every aspect. And look, like I'm not telling any y'all like what to think. I'm not telling you like, yep, here we go, busted. But what I'm telling you guys is that if you critically think and you look at everything, then go and form your own opinion. See what everyone has displayed. See, you know, and I see the comments too, and I wanted to make sure that like there's snacks in the back room. There are. She's munching on brown M&Ms back there, is what she said.
And
She
the
said
water had to be all the way twisted
yep, the
off,
water
or
had
else
to be
she wasn't
open
having it.
just
Yeah.
slightly for
Yeah.
her to do the show, and I had to sign an NDA. That was like the craziest.
At Dollar General.
At the Dollar General, she made me meet her. That is an NDA. I appreciate you guys coming in here. There were a lot of really there were a lot less shit comments than I expected. There were some. But here's the thing, like I could show you a video. I could show you a video of him doing it in the act. And you guys, some of you guys would be like, yeah, no, she's totally enjoying it. Like I could do that right now. And some of you would still be saying that.
It's a fact.
So when it comes to receipts, like I didn't see shit for receipts on the other side. Like, what are you showing me besides crop text messages with an alleged date that it happened and it didn't happen? So if his word is good enough for receipts, her word is good enough for receipts. And I saw some comments in here too that were like asking for like nitty gritty details. That's never going to happen when I'm around. It's never, ever, ever going to happen when I'm around because that's just disturbing that people even want details of that. Like there was an assault. That's what matters. You know, there was a sexual assault. That is what matters. And it was more about the grooming up to it and the cover of it afterwards and seeing the entire timeline from her point of view. And now you guys remember what this side said and this side said and this side said. Formulate your own opinion. I have done so. Everybody else can do so. And can we please, for the love of God, just make this the series finale? Like I feel like it's come full circle. I'm good. I have my answers. I have my opinion. I know who I support. I know what I believe. And I just don't want to talk about him anymore. I don't feel the need to talk about him anymore. Tex might do some interviews with some other people. I'm good. Like I feel good about it because I feel like every side of the story that matters has been told. And the remaining are just like sideline nitpicky drama stuff that's just going to get people caught up in whatever. And there are other creators that are covering all the rest of it. And you guys already know who they are. I just wanted to fix my part. And I feel like I did. Like I feel comfortable with it. So I feel like that's kind of thanks for modding Tex and hanging out in the back room with me. And yeah, if you guys are definitely looking for a continuance of the storyline, I would go to What Does It Matter Now? I am Sam. And official Britney bitch was quoted in saying she's just getting started. That's where you can go for all of your semantics updates and your kingery. They are very detail oriented, those girls. They are very timeline built. I don't know how you girls do what you do on a regular basis. I'm all set from the last couple of weeks. Tex, do you want to send us out with something positive?
Well, whatever your opinion was coming into it, I don't know if it's changed or not, but hopefully you came in with at least a semi-open mind to be able to hear the other side. I know that a lot of you guys might consider this drama, but where isn't drama in life? I get it all the time on my comments about the drama quotes, and it's like the same people. I'll go on scroll several months back onto their TikTok, and they sure were into the Amber Heard trial and every nit and gritty of that detail. They didn't mind that drama.
Yep.
And so, and then another thing is, if you're going hard or choose to still defend Daphne or Lawless or any of the other ones, just know that like Ted Bundy had fans, Jeffrey Dahmer had fans, Bill Cosby had fans or has fans. No matter what evidence is produced or shown or a camera or whatever, they're still going to have their loyalists, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to remind everybody that yes, that was the only receipt from him was the text, and I rebutted that receipt. So as far as I'm concerned, that was the only receipt that needed to be addressed because that was the only receipt, and we proved that to be false. So I'm tired. We did 2 hours. I'm exhausted. Thank you guys all for hanging out. And thank you for all the random screen recorders that are in here because holy smokes, there's a lot of you. Don't typically see you guys on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I don't know. Consider sticking around for another show, maybe. But
yeah. All right. With that said, y'all have a good evening.
Thursday.